She called off our wedding at brunch in front of her friends. 29M with 27F engaged for 18 months. This is still surreal to write. But I need to get this out somewhere because I cannot tell if I am losing my mind or if I just experienced the most calculated public humiliation of my life. So I have been engaged to Cassidy for a year and a half. Wedding was supposed to be in 6 weeks. Venue booked, deposits paid, invitations already sent. We had been planning this thing for months, and honestly, I thought we were solid. Sure, she had been a little distant lately, but I chalked it up to wedding stress. Event planning is her job, and she has been working crazy hours. Sunday morning, she asks if I want to join her and her 3 closest friends for brunch at this upscale place downtown. Lexi, Maya, and her other friend Astrid were already there when we arrived, and they are all dressed like they are going to some important meeting. Should have been my first red flag, but I just figured they were being their usual Instagram-ready selves. We order food. Everyone's making small talk, and then about 20 minutes in, Cassidy puts her mimosa down and gets this weird look on her face, like she is about to deliver a rehearsed presentation. "Dylan," she says, loud enough for the tables around us to hear, "I have been doing a lot of thinking, and I need to be honest with you and with myself." The entire table goes quiet. Her friends are looking at her like they are watching a movie they already know the ending to. "I don't love you anymore," she continues. "I haven't for a while now. I cannot marry someone I don't love. And I cannot keep pretending this is going to work." Just like that in front of her friends, in a crowded restaurant, 6 weeks before our wedding. Here is the thing about moments like that. Your brain kind of fractures for a second. Part of me was processing the actual words she was saying, but another part was noticing how her friends weren't surprised. They were watching me, not her, like they were waiting to see how I would react. I looked around the table and Lexi actually had her phone out like she was ready to document my breakdown for social media. That is when something clicked. I reached across the table, took the engagement ring off her finger, and put it in my pocket. "Well," I said, "I guess that settles it then." Her friends started laughing, nervous laughter, like they thought I was about to fall apart, and they didn't know how else to react. "Actually," I continued, standing up and pulling out my wallet since the venue's already paid for and the invitations are out, "I think I will throw a party anyway. Call it a dodged a bullet party. Should be fun." The laughter stopped. "Especially," I added, "since the wedding photographer just sent me some very interesting engagement photos from last weekend's shoot. You know how you can tell when someone's blood literally drains from their face?" Cassidy went white. Not pale, white. I left money for my coffee and walked out. My phone started buzzing before I even reached my car. The thing is, I have been suspicious about something for weeks. Little things that didn't add up. Her phone behavior, working late with clients, that whole distant thing I mentioned. But I kept telling myself I was being paranoid. That wedding stress was making me see problems that weren't there. Turns out my gut was right all along. Edit. Holy shit, this got way more attention than I expected. To answer the most common questions, no, I am not calling off the party. Yes, the photographer thing is real. And no, I am not going to elaborate on what those photos show until I figure out how to handle this properly. Edit 2. Cassidy's been calling and texting non-stop. Her friends too. Maya actually seems genuinely concerned and keeps saying she didn't know it would happen like that, which makes me think at least one of them has a conscience. Edit 3. Grant, my best man, just texted me. "Dude, you handled that like a fucking champion." Sometimes you need your friends to remind you that you didn't imagine the whole thing. Update 1. Well, the engagement photos arrived, and they are enlightening. First, thanks to everyone who responded to my original post. Reading through all your comments helped me realize I wasn't overreacting or being dramatic. What happened at that brunch was planned, and it was cruel. So about those photos I mentioned, our engagement shoot was last Saturday. One of those all-day things where the photographer takes like 500 pictures to get 50 good ones. Standard stuff, but Cassidy insisted on this particular photographer because she had worked with her on some events. The photographer sent me the full gallery yesterday with a note saying she wasn't sure who to send them to given the situation. Word travels fast in the wedding industry, apparently. But since I had been the one coordinating with her, she figured I should have them. Most of the photos are what you would expect. Posed shots of us looking happy and in love. But there are also candid shots taken between poses while we are talking or checking our phones. And holy shit, the phone shots tell a story. In at least a dozen photos, Cassidy's on her phone. Not just checking it, actively texting someone. In several pictures, you can see her angling the screen away from me so I cannot see what she is typing. But here is the kicker. There is one photo where the photographer caught the exact moment a message preview popped up on Cassidy's lock screen. It is crystal clear, and the message reads, "Cannot wait until this charade is over." A charade. Our entire engagement was a charade to her. I screenshot that photo and sent it to Grant with the message, "Guess who was right about something being off?" Grant called me immediately, "Bro, what the actual fuck? How long has she been planning this?" That is the question, isn't it? How long was I unknowingly participating in some elaborate performance while she was texting someone else about how fake it all felt? Maya, Cassidy's real estate agent friend, texted me yesterday asking if we could talk. She said watching what happened at brunch has been eating at her, and she thinks there are things I should know about the timeline of Cassidy's decision. Meanwhile, Lexi's been posting cryptic Instagram stories about supporting friends through difficult decisions, and sometimes love isn't enough. Really deep stuff from someone who was literally recording my humiliation for content. But Maya seems different. Her texts don't feel like damage control. They feel like someone with actual guilt about what they witnessed. I am meeting her for coffee tomorrow. The venue manager called today about the unusual situation with our booking. Apparently, Cassidy contacted them yesterday with some questions about the contract. Questions that have me very interested in what she is actually planning. I told the manager I had call him back after I talked to Maya. One thing at a time. Edit. For those asking why the photographer didn't blur or delete the candid phone shots. Apparently that is not standard practice. They shoot everything and let you choose what you want. Edited, Faye retouched. Lucky for me, because those candid shots are the only real documentation I have of what was actually happening behind the scenes. Edit 2. The timing on that message preview photo is 2:17 p.m. We had been shooting for 3 hours at that point. She was texting someone about our charade while posing for engagement photos. I cannot even process the level of calculation that requires. Update 2: Maya and I had that coffee yesterday, and then the venue manager called with some very interesting information. This story just keeps getting more unbelievable. Maya was clearly uncomfortable when we met. She kept stirring her latte and avoiding eye contact before finally just blurting out, "I didn't know she was going to do it like that. I knew she was planning to end things, but I thought she was going to talk to you privately first." Turns out Cassidy had been talking about having doubts for about 2 months. But according to Maya, it wasn't about falling out of love or wedding stress. She had been seeing someone else. She has been working with this client on some corporate events, Maya said. Big company. Lots of evening meetings. At first it seemed professional, but about 6 weeks ago she started talking about him differently. 6 weeks ago, right around when she started being distant, Maya said she and Astrid, the other friend from brunch, had been trying to talk Cassidy into being honest with me for weeks. But Lexi kept encouraging her to follow her heart and not settle for safe when she could have exciting. Lexi thought the public breakup was, quote, empowering, Maya said with obvious disgust. Like Cassidy was making some brave statement about women knowing their worth. I asked Maya if she knew who this client was. She hesitated, then pulled out her phone and showed me a LinkedIn profile. Marcus Vale, senior VP at some tech company. Divorced. 2 kids. Definitely her type if her type is successful older man who can afford to hire event planners for corporate retreats. But here is where it gets really interesting. After coffee with Maya, I got a call from Tom, the venue manager. "This might be outside my usual role," Tom said, "but I thought you should know that your fiancée called yesterday asking about modifying the contract for your date." "Modifying it how?" I asked. "She wanted to know if we could change the groom's name on the booking." Same date, same package, different groom. I literally had to ask him to repeat that. Cassidy tried to keep our wedding date and venue but swapped me out for her new guy. Like I was just a placeholder in her own wedding planning. Tom said he told her that wasn't how contracts work, that she had need to cancel and rebook if she wanted to make changes like that, but she insisted on speaking to someone else about special circumstances. "I have been doing this for 15 years, Tom told me, and I have never had someone try to transfer a wedding to a different groom. That is not how any of this works." I was still processing that information when there was a knock at my apartment door around 7 p.m. It was Cassidy with Marcus. She would brought her new boyfriend to my apartment too. I honestly don't know what the plan was. Dylan, she said, like we were old friends catching up. I want you to meet Marcus. We have been working together and I wanted you to know that there wasn't any overlap with our relationship. This is all very recent. I looked at Marcus, tall, expensive suit, clearly uncomfortable being there, and decided to have some fun with this. Marcus, I said, extending my hand. Nice to meet you. How long have you and Cassidy been together? Cassidy jumped in immediately, like I said. This is very recent. We just started seeing each other actually. Marcus interrupted. We have been dating for about 3 months now, since that conference in Chicago. The silence that followed was beautiful. Cassidy's face went through about 5 different expressions in 10 seconds, while Marcus just stood there realizing he had stepped in something 3 months. I said. That is interesting because Cassidy and I were still engaged 3 months ago, still living together, still planning a wedding. Marcus looked at Cassidy, then back at me. She told me you guys were just friends who were helping her with some event planning, that you weren't actually together anymore. Friends. She told her new boyfriend I was just a friend helping with event planning. I pulled out my phone and showed Marcus the photo of Cassidy's message about the charade. Does this look like something a friend would send about event planning? I asked. Marcus studied the photo, then looked at Cassidy with an expression I recognized. It was the same look I had had when pieces of a puzzle suddenly clicked into place. Cassidy, he said slowly. You told me you had been single for 6 months. And that is when Cassidy's whole performance fell apart. She started talking fast, trying to explain how it was complicated, how Marcus didn't understand the situation, how I was being vindictive by showing him private photos. Marcus just shook his head and said, I need to go. This isn't what you told me. After he left, Cassidy tried to salvage something. You didn't have to humiliate me like that, she said. I didn't humiliate you, I replied. I just told the truth. She left without another word. Tom called this morning to let me know that Cassidy had called the venue again, asking about cancellation policies. Looks like there will not be a second wedding after all. Edit. Several people are asking why I showed Marcus the photo. Honestly, the guy seemed decent, and I figured he deserved to know what he was getting into. If someone had shown me evidence of Cassidy's behavior 3 months ago, I would have wanted to see it. Edit 2. Grant just texted me. Please tell me you are still doing the Dodged a Bullet party. Yes, I am. Final update, so the Dodged a Bullet party happened last Saturday, and honestly, it was better than any wedding I have ever been to. I wasn't sure anyone would actually show up. I mean, it is one thing to support someone through a breakup. It is another thing to come to a party celebrating it, but Grant helped me send out proper invitations. Dylan Reeve cordially invites you to celebrate dodging a major bullet, and the response was overwhelming. 83 people came. 83. That is more than half our original wedding guest list. The venue, the same one Cassidy tried to transfer to Marcus, was incredible. Tom, the manager, went above and beyond. He said it was the most unique event they had ever hosted, and he was honored to be part of celebrating honesty over appearances. Grant gave a speech that had people in tears, the good kind. He talked about how he had watched me questioning my instincts for months, how he could see something was off but didn't know how to help me see it. Dylan came to me about 6 weeks before the original wedding date, Grant said, and told me he felt like he was going crazy. Said Cassidy seemed like she was performing being engaged rather than actually being engaged. I told him to trust his gut, but I don't think either of us expected it to be this dramatic. But here is the part that really got me after Grant's speech. People started sharing their own stories about things they had noticed, but hadn't felt comfortable bringing up. My Aunt Linda said she had seen Cassidy at a restaurant 3 weeks before the brunch incident, holding hands with a man who definitely wasn't me. She had been agonizing over whether to say something. My coworker Dave said his wife had seen Cassidy and some guy at a hotel bar during a work trip, and they had looked very much like a couple. His wife had taken a photo because she thought it was weird, but they had decided it wasn't their place to get involved. Maya came to the party, alone, and pulled me aside to apologize again. She said watching me handle everything with such dignity had made her realize how toxic her friend group had become. Lexi's been posting stories about how you ambushed Cassidy with that photo and how Marcus was manipulated into breaking up with her. Maya told me she is completely rewriting what happened, but Maya also told me something interesting. Cassidy had apparently been telling people that I had refused to let her end things amicably and had turned everyone against her by spreading lies about her relationship with Marcus. The thing is, Maya said, most people already knew something was off. You didn't turn anyone against her, you just stopped pretending everything was fine. That hit me hard. How many people had been watching me make excuses for behavior they could see was wrong? How many people had been waiting for me to wake up? The best part of the night was meeting Tom's sister, Rebecca. She is a graphic designer who helped coordinate some of the party details, and we ended up talking for hours about everything from travel to terrible movies to the psychology of people who think public humiliation is an acceptable way to end relationships. She is smart, funny, and when I told her the whole story, her response was, "Jesus. What kind of person brings their new boyfriend to their ex's apartment? That is not conflict resolution, that is psychological warfare." I like her. As for Cassidy, I heard through Maya that Marcus did break up with her after our little apartment meeting. Turns out he had been lied to about pretty much everything, and he wasn't interested in dating someone who could maintain that level of deception. Cassidy's apparently been telling people that both Marcus and I couldn't handle a strong woman making her own choices, because calling off a wedding via public humiliation and trying to transfer the venue to your affair partner is just strong women making choices. I used the money we had saved for our honeymoon as a down payment on a house. It is a small place about 20 minutes from downtown, but it has a good kitchen and a yard where I can finally get that dog I have been wanting. Rebecca helped me pick out paint colors last weekend. We are taking things slow, but it is nice being with someone who doesn't make me feel like I am constantly auditioning for the role of boyfriend. You know what is funny? I thought that brunch was going to be the worst day of my life. Instead, it turned out to be the day I got my life back. If someone had told me 6 months ago that my fiancé was going to publicly dump me and I would end up throwing a party to celebrate it, I would have thought they were insane. But sometimes getting exactly what you didn't know you needed requires going through something you thought would destroy you. The right person will not make you question your reality. They will not perform being in love with you while texting someone else about what a charade it all is. They will just choose you honestly and consistently without making you wonder where you stand. And if they don't, well, there is always the dodged a bullet party option. Grant's already volunteered to help plan the next one. Edit. For everyone asking about Rebecca, we are definitely interested in each other, but I am not rushing into anything. After Cassidy, I am appreciating the value of taking time to really know someone before making big decisions. Edit 2. Someone asked if I regret not trying to work things out with Cassidy. Here is the thing. You cannot work things out with someone who has been living a double life for months. The relationship I thought we had never actually existed. Edit 3. Maya said, Lexi's been asking mutual friends for my new address so Cassidy can apologize properly. I told Maya to tell anyone who asks that I am not interested in apologies from people who planned my public humiliation as performance art.